Today, a very personal story that proves money is the root of all good. Get that trash out of your life. You have legacies to build.
We grew that business from 3.4 million to 17.1.
Horsepower, not horse shit.
You want to be the parent that's an ally. They don't need another friend.
Not everybody's cup of whiskey. Toughest advice for the toughest businessmen. Be relentless. Michael McLean, NoBullBook.com, BadassLetter.com. Wonderful early autumn morning out at the lake. Time for some road work, 15,000 steps. Out in the sunshine, out in the fresh air, getting over that cold that I picked up on the flight home from Orlando a week ago, feeling much better. I didn't miss any of the important, even though I wasn't feeling 100% last week. I still got in my road work. I still got in my water. I still got in Operation Money Suck, an hour a day, and I also got in tons of reading. When I wasn't feeling well, it was a great chance for me to actually listen to some trainings that I hadn't listened to, listen to some coaching programs, and to do things I normally don't have the time, but maybe things that didn't take as much of my energy. So, a personal story for you today. I guess we're not supposed to share these types of things as businessmen. We're supposed to take our emotions and we're supposed to push them all down. We're not supposed to talk about our feelings. We're not supposed to talk about what's bothering us. We're not supposed to talk about, you know, our private victories and our private defeats. We're supposed to push it all down. And that's one of the biggest challenges with the men that I work with, over 45, married with children, is when you push everything down emotionally, you don't share your challenges, your problems, your issues. This is why men end up checked out. This is why fathers and husbands end up sedating. This is why, you know, men that were leaders become followers. And this is how men become walking zombies and clones and drones. And this is how lions become sheep, by pushing it all down and not sharing or speaking to people they trust about the difficulties and challenges in their lives. We all have them. We all have them, but it seems to be a male thing that we never speak of anything. Our lives are perfect all the time. And men put on that mask every day, and that mask is a costly costume. That mask is a lie, and it is a costly costume. So I've decided, since I started Badass Brotherhood last Thanksgiving, I just said, you know what? I'm going to share my life with 1 million elite businessmen. I'm going to share it through my writings, through my faxes, my newsletters, my emails, my telegrams. I'm going to share my life, the good, the bad, and the ugly, through my daily videos, through my mastermind trainings, and I'm going to be 100% honest and transparent. I'm at the point in my life, in my career, where I'm in a safe harbor position. I'm not a immature person anymore. And I'm just going to be clear as kind. Like the great Brene Brown says, clear is kind, unclear is unkind. When we're younger, it's much tougher. We're told to push our emotions down. We're told to power through. And especially as men, this can be very, very troubling, and this is where the root of a lot of mental illness is. So I wanted to share with you today a personal story. Last Saturday here at our lake house, back that I just left there, we had a family intervention, a real life intervention, like the TV show if you've ever seen it. And the situation, without going into the specifics, it was a family member on a family member. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't directly in our family. It wasn't. It was in our family, but it wasn't our specific family. And I wasn't involved personally in the intervention on Saturday. It literally took less than 1 hour. And I have to credit my wife, Krista, with setting the entire thing up. But it reminded me that money is the root of all good. And I want to share with you exactly what happened on Saturday. So Krista has a member in her family who has been struggling with alcohol and drug abuse for decades. It's been an off and on thing. It's been something that has really taken root since the virus the last 3 years. You know, working from home and all this other stuff that came with the restrictions and the lockdowns. And this particular individual was drinking every single day. They were drinking at work, you know, passing out at home at 7:30 at night after a day of drinking and working. And, you know, it was a situation where they literally were the Walking Dead. And, you know, at the age of, they were at the age of around 55 years old. Her children had graduated from university and college. They had moved out. And basically, there was no more personal accountability. She was able to fool the people at her work. And she was able to abuse alcohol, you know, for the last several years. So Krista, being the compassionate and empathetic person that I love, had finally decided when we got back from Naples this year that she was going to step in and do something to help this important person in her life. Come on, pal. And I have to credit her with doing an incredible amount of research. My wife's an amazing researcher, and she looked up, you know, first of all, interventions, how they happen, who you hire, how you get your loved one there, and what gives you your best chance to win in terms of something like this. She didn't know anything about that stuff. And come on, buddy. Come on, pal. Come on, Cliff. And so she did an amazing job. She spent about 2 weeks on the intervention part, talking to different people in the business. I talked to a friend of mine about the availability, and this just shows our healthcare. You know, Canadians brag about their healthcare system, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you get cancer, you don't want to count on our public healthcare system. If you get sick, you better not want to count on our healthcare system. You will die waiting. The same thing is for addiction. I mean, addiction has never been more prevalent since the virus. And I talked to a friend of mine who's in the recovery industry, and he said, Michael, he said, we can get her into detox, but it's going to be like, that's not a problem. That's 5 days. The problem is it'll take up to 18 months to get her a bed in rehab. So that in itself was a really, really, really big thing. So I walked into the kitchen the other night after work, and Krista was in there organizing the intervention for Saturday with the two kids. One is 22 and one is 25. So of course they're involved in this intervention. They're gonna speak. They're writing down all the things that, you know, how they're affected, what's there to lose, what's there to gain, you know, how you're going to be cutting off the person if they don't accept the treatment or the help that you're offering. So really, really interesting stuff. But they didn't have a place for her to go. So I was listening to this when I was in the kitchen, and finally, you know, after speaking to my friend and hearing, you know, 18 months to get a bed through the the public system, I just finally said to Krista, I said, why don't you find the best rehabilitation clinic in the country? Why don't you do your research, which you're outstanding at doing? Find the best, absolute best program in the country and put her in there for 60 days. Not 30, not 45, but 60 days. Because personally, I know her, and I'm like, okay, this is going to take, you know, at least this amount of time, but let's do the job. We're dealing with somebody in our family. We're dealing with somebody we care about. You know, this is an investment in somebody's life. And if you could have seen my wife light up, because she never really thought about it, and she certainly didn't ask that we pay for it or anything like that. But her and the two children, it just, everything changed on that moment. They now had something, they had hope. They had a place. So my wife got on the internet and she got on the phone, and literally within 3 hours, she had spoken to these top 3 places in the country for women to go. And it was amazing because they had a bed ready the next day. So they went from not having a place for her to go. They were going to have this intervention, and then they were going to have to, it was like a thud, right? They would make all these demands of the person. They would, you know, we need you to go get help, all this kind of stuff. And then there's no place to go get help. You know, you're 18 months out in most cases. So money is the root of all good. I just thought about it that night, how all of a sudden now they had a bed for her, and now the intervention would mean something. So on last Saturday morning, I took Emery to skating. I took her to the horse barn for the morning, so we were not, nor should we have been, a part of it. And then, you know, Krista told me about what happened. So, you know, they brought the person out, and she sat down by the fireplace, and both of the kids spoke. So the daughter spoke. She had a list of things. They actually used my badass whiteboard, which I thought was pretty amazing to stay on track. But both children spoke about all of the things that they had lost because of addiction. And they talked about all the things to be gained by accepting this help. And they talked about what would be missed out if she didn't accept the help. And those are pretty clear. You know, she wouldn't live to see them get married. She wouldn't be in my daughter's life. She wouldn't see her grandchildren be born or be part of their lives. This type of thing. So pretty powerful stuff. And then Krista said a few words. She was basically there to keep things on track for the younger kids. And after a few minutes, she wanted to see where the program was. They opened up the MacBook Pro and she looked at it, and then she turned to them and said, you know, I'd have to be crazy not to accept this opportunity, this gift. Money is the root of all good. So right then and there, literally, they had a bag packed for her. There's no going home. There's no going shopping. There's no telling your job. That stuff had all been handled behind the scenes by my wife and the two kids. And they literally were prepared, the two children, to drive the 4 hours. So they were literally out of town within half an hour. As soon as she said yes, they didn't unsell the cell. They didn't unsell the clothes. They got her in that vehicle, and her bag was packed, and she was gone to the rehabilitation center. And I'm happy to report, you know, just a handful of days in, Krista and the kids had a phone call yesterday. And not surprisingly, she's doing incredibly well. It's been only 3 days. She's got a long road ahead of her the rest of her life. But I'm happy to report that right off the bat, she's heading back to, she's like her old self, Krista said, you know, like she remembered from years ago. She's, you know, they're practicing yoga and fitness and nutrition. She wasn't eating. She had lost all kinds of weight. She wasn't caring for herself anymore. She wasn't reading. She wasn't exercising. You know, that's what the poison of alcohol does to a person. You stop caring about the most important things in your life, and all you start caring about is the next drink. So amazingly, but not amazingly, she's doing extremely well. And after the 60 days, that's when the real work begins, when you return to your environment. So we're going to be working on, I've given Krista that book, Willpower Doesn't Work, Environment Works, and she's really going to have to work on changing the environment. But at the end of the day, like I told her, like I said, you know, at the end of the day, this is a lifelong commitment, and it's up to the person to change. It's not up to the people around them. So I'll keep you up to date on that, but I thought that was a fascinating story of things that happen in our family, and it's good news. It's a good news so far, because money is the root of all good. And it brings me to that topic today, where you and your secret weapon wife and your queen and your kids, all they hear growing up now in North America is the evil rich, the evil wealthy, the evil successful, the evil entrepreneur, the evil family, the evil achievement and responsibility. And remember, this is the self-loathing crowd that's selling this trash to ourselves and to our children. And I just want to be clear that in my world, money is the root of all good. Money is actually inherently not good or bad. It depends on who's using the money. Money is paper, and now money is digits. It's digital digits. But what a person uses the money for can be good or bad. But just to say that, well, money is the root of all evil or all this other nonsense, and that's all our children hear, that's all the people in our world hear. So I think it's important for us to share the good things that money brings. Money brings freedom, money brings autonomy, money brings the ability to save time, money saves lives, money brings health, money brings all kinds of opportunities, money opens doors, and money allows you, in this particular case as an example, to help people in your life that are important to you. Krista's father, Al, had a severe stroke 5.5 years ago. He was a guy who was incredibly active, you know, in business, always out working on his property. And when he had that stroke 5.5 years ago, his entire world changed. He's still paralyzed on the left side. And when it happened, they said after 5 days, they said, you know, Krista, your dad will never walk again. And for us, that became the big challenge. I was like, you know, he's not going to work again. He's not going to drive a car again. We can accept that. But I said to Krista one time, after he, you know, we were in the hospital, I said, there's no fucking way that we can accept that he will never walk again. He's a man. He was in his 70s at the time. I said, I don't care what happens in terms of the rest of his life. Sure, it's going to shrink, but the man needs to be able to walk. He needs to be able to walk. He needs to be able to get around. So we turned our attention to that one goal, helping her dad walk. And once again, my wife, she was just relentless in terms of, I said, whatever it costs, I said, let's help your father. I mean, that's what money is for. It is the root of all good. And, you know, like, there's no sense sitting here and saving it and hoarding it when you can help somebody that you love, and it's your father, for God's sakes. So she did her research and found the Shirley Ryan Clinic in Chicago, the stroke clinic. It's where NFL guys go. It's where NHL guys go. It's where NBA guys go. Critical accident people go. Young people that have been in serious car crashes. People basically that have strokes or major accidents where they're no longer able to function. And this incredible clinic helps people get back to things you would never imagine they could get back to. So that was an incredible thing. So she researched that, and we put him on a private plane. And I'll never forget, at the hospital, the last diagnosis at our local hospital was he'll never walk again. You just can't get your hopes up. I mean, he's not going to be able to walk again. So then we put him on a private air ambulance, and we flew him from here straight to Chicago to the Shirley Ryan Clinic. And he started a 21-day rehabilitation. And I'll never forget the video he sent me. I'll never forget the video he sent me. 5 days in to the 21-day program, a video of him walking for the first time since his stroke. And I still have that saved. I still watch that from time to time. And 5 days in, what we had been told was impossible, what we had been told would never, ever happen again. 5 days in, he was walking. And here we are 5.5 years later. You know, he still has tons of issues, but the man can walk. He has that freedom, that independence of being able to get up. You know, he comes out to the lake here. He can walk into the lake house. He can walk out here to the boat. You know, we'll take him for boat rides and that type of thing. And he wouldn't be able to do any of those things if he wasn't able to walk. So the wonderful people at the Shirley Ryan Clinic, they made all the difference in the world, and it was life-changing. And money is the root of all good. If we weren't in a position to help Krista's dad, we would have accepted the fact that he'll never walk again. And even though his life isn't what it used to be, it would have been a hell of a lot worse than it is now. He just simply would have been in a wheelchair for the last 5.5 years, and I don't believe he'd still be with us. I don't believe that he'd be with us if he wasn't able to walk. When you walk, you can work on your cardio, you can exercise. He's got therapy, he's got massage, he's got freedom to, you know, get up and change the TV channel. He's got freedom to move, and that's because of money. That's because of money being the root of all good. Another example of having an impact, when you get to our point, my wife and I, in our lives, it's about significance. It's not about making more money. It's not Badass Millionaire and Badass Brotherhood. I didn't start this company. I don't work 7 days a week, you know, to make just more money. Money's always important, but Leanne and Marc-Andre and I are on a mission to help 1 million elite men. We're on a mission to, over the next decade, to impact and help a million men live life and do business on their own terms. Nothing loftier than that. We want to help 1 million men improve their marriage, their relationship with their children, their physical, mental health, their business, their marketing, their profits. And yes, I want them to do well. I want them to make more money, because, you know, money breeds more money. Abundance is a good thing. A rising tide lifts all boats. So money, in my mind, in my biased opinion, is the root of all good. Another example, before I go, is look at that behind me. Look at that. Look at the steam coming off the lake on an autumn morning. Look at the trees. Wow. And look at that 4-mile view. So my home office here is in the peak of the Red Lake House. So we built this 11 years ago, and that was my dream right there. My office is right up there on the 2nd floor. I have a big oak desk, and it was my dream when this was an old seasonal cottage. It was like 100 years old. We tore it down. We put in the radiant floor heating, the fire, and we built this 11, 12 years ago. And that was my dream, to have my my home office up in the top of the peak of an A-frame. And that's the biggest home you can build on the water, in terms of that's all the environmental people let you, or I'd even have a bigger spot. But I wanted this to be my view every morning when I was writing. I wanted this to be my view when I was reading. I wanted this to be my view when I was you know, sitting out here and thinking and all that stuff. So the 4 Mile lake view was the dream 12 years ago. It took a few minutes to get there, but it just shows you the power of vision. Money is the root of all good. About 6-7 years ago, we were sponsors of a couple of families of Syrian refugees. If you remember back in the news, you know, the small child who was washed up on the beach, and that horrible image that CNN, of course, used to push another left-wing agenda. But this, in that particular case, like, we were a sponsor through a local church to bring 2 Afghan families, 2 young families from Syria who were in dire need and straits. And we actually, we were part of a sponsorship. I was one of the main sponsors to get that going, to get that first family here. And it's interesting because one of them actually worked for me. One of the fathers, they all learned English. Kids all go to school. They all play sports. This is like 7 years later. He became one of my barbers. He literally became a licensed barber on his own. The ambition of these people is badass. So we now have 2, maybe 3 Syrian families living in our small community here who came out of that shithole country, and they're wonderful parents. They're wonderful people in the community. They work like dogs, you know, 1 job, 2 jobs. They're self-efficient, self-reliant, paying taxes. They're Canadian citizens. And it's funny, when they arrived here, they had never seen winter. They had never seen snow in their lives, and they arrived in January. Like, I'm talking 0 degrees. I remember the day the first family arrived, I was over at the rink, and they were renting a house across there. These people, they thought they had seen a lot before, but they had never seen climate like this. And it was interesting because my Sunday morning Blue Wings program that I've run for 8 years for children that don't necessarily get an opportunity to play regular hockey, the entire first family, the kids, there was 2 boys and a girl, and here they are out about 4 years later, a couple of years ago, and here they are out playing in the Perth Blue Wings, hockey gear on, skating on the ice, good players. And I was like, what a transformation of your life. You go from Syria to, you know, one of the greatest countries in the world, and within 3 or 4 years, your kids are, you know, speaking fluent English. They're part of the Canadian lifestyle, and they're playing hockey. And I was just so amazed at that. And we were one of the big sponsors to make that happen. And, you know, money is the root of all good. Money is the root of all good. I'll just finish up with a story. My wife, Krista, is working on something right now. She's part of a local program here. She's on a board of directors for for a family that was rescued from Afghanistan. And they just arrived here in our small community just last month. They've been here for 3 weeks. These are, one's a lawyer, one's a doctor, and they're two families with young children. And they were one of the very, very, very rare and few families to get out of Afghanistan after the Taliban took over. After the Canadian military and the American military were taken out of there. When our leaders didn't lead, when Biden and Trudeau did the unthinkable, embarrassed both of our countries, embarrassed our military, embarrassed us on the world stage with their cowardice, and took our military out of Afghanistan. These people that are now living in our community, they talk about it took them almost a year now to escape Afghanistan, to get to Canada. They went through all these different countries once they got out of Afghanistan. But they were lucky enough to be one of those first few families on that flight out, that massive flight out, thanks to the American military. They were on those first few flights out. So they won the lottery. And we again, Krista and I again, have sponsored these two families that are here to come and create a life here. The kids are already in school here, like 7 years old, 5 years old. They're already in school here. And it's crazy because these people bring so much to your country. They bring so much good to your society. It's staggering. And their work ethic puts many North Americans to shame. You know, we can't find people to work, but these people here will work until the end of the day. They feel so blessed. So Krista comes home from the meeting yesterday and she tells me about how the family is settling in. Remember, he's a corporate lawyer and she's a doctor or something like this. And they have this house and they bought themselves a car and they're getting a license. They're doing more. They've done more in 30 days than most Canadians would do in 30 weeks. Like, insane. They're not entitled at all. They have an attitude of gratitude. She tells me the guy who's the corporate lawyer just got a job at Subway. Just got a job at Subway at the mall because they're looking to hire people. He couldn't sit at home. He wants to learn better English. This guy's a corporate lawyer. He was a corporate lawyer in Afghanistan. And he's now working at Subway, being trained because he wants to work and he wants to start making some money and he doesn't want to sit around and he wants to be part of the community. And he's going to do this until he gets his licensing, which is going to take years, so that he can practice corporate law again. Think about that mindset. He's willing to start over again at the very bottom, making sub sandwiches without complaint, because he wants to make some money. He wants to give back. He wants to be, he wants to be busy. He wants to be active. Money is the root of all good. And all of that happened, and those people are here because not only us, but all the families that invested time and money into making that happen. Time and money into making that happen. So, you know, the last example I'll give you that money is the root of all good is, you know, we found it. Krista especially was part of the founding with other great parents of the elementary school that Emery's a part of, the Montessori school here in our community. If it wasn't for that school, our kid would be in public school. And if you know anything about public school in the United States or Canada, I mean, it's just garbage. It's become a place for the indoctrination of our children against, anti-America, anti-Canada, anti-business, anti-success, anti-history, cancel culture, victimhood, everything and anything you don't want your children and your grandchildren ever hearing. You should be embarrassed to be American. You should be embarrassed to be a Canadian. They're teaching socialism, communism, and capitalism. And they're like, pick one. They're like, pick one, instead of the old days where it was like, okay, two of these are evil. And capitalism, although not perfect, is the greatest form of that your society can model. There's none of that. There's no cursive writing because the teachers don't want to be held accountable for cursive writing because it's something that you can actually measure and hold accountable. There's no more testing in our schools. Our kids can't read. They can't count. They can't add. They don't know where the Great Lakes are. They can't name the capital cities in any state. They can't even name the fucking states. Okay? I whiteboard with my kid every day. I whiteboard with my kid every day since she was like 4 years old. She knows every province. She knows every capital city. She knows every state. She knows every capital city. Every night we read about George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and Ronald Reagan. And I talk about books like Think and Grow Rich. And I talk about, like, are you kidding me? We talk about history. We teach history. But one of the big wins for us is this school in our community And the only reason this school exists, they couldn't get it going. It took 30 years. They couldn't get the elementary going. And now it's been going for 3 years. Krista and I were major donors to that school. And it got it off, and now there's 20 kids that participate in the elementary. I'm the skating coach. That's what I am. I'm the jock coach. I'm the gym coach. And the difference, my kid doesn't have to be in that indoctrination. My kid's learning arithmetic. She's learning history. She's learning math. They wash dishes. They do laundry. They make their own lunches. They're outside for recess all the time. All that bullshit that's going on in our public schools, we've been able to avoid most of it because of the fact that money is the root of all good. Without that donation, there's no school. There's no school. So that's what I've been working for tirelessly for 31 years. All these stories I share, that's why you bust your ass to get yourself in a safe harbor position. Do you think that I care that the next, I think winter's coming for the next 3 years. I think there's going to be a thinning of the herd like never before over the next 3 years. It's coming. It's justified. It's needed. And no matter what they say, no matter what the Biden and the bunch say, or the Trudeau bunch say, or some dumbass economist says, winter's coming. But I put myself in a safe harbor position so I don't have to overly concern myself with that. And that's got to be the goal of you as a badass millionaire, is like, I want to get to that safe harbor financial position where money's no longer an issue, so that you have ultimate peace of mind, where no matter what happens, your family's good. No matter what happens, your family's good. You may have to stop some spending and stop spending on silly stuff and all this other, but you're good. You're good. And that's what I've worked my ass off for peace of mind. But on top of that, these stories prove that there's such a thing as significance, that money is the root of all good when used properly. Money in your hands will do good. Money in your hands will do good. You will help more people. You're not going to help anybody by being broke. You don't help anybody by scarcity. You don't help anybody by being broke. You don't help anybody by not being the best version of yourself. That's loser talk. That's loser thinking. And the only people that talk like that are people that hate their life, hate their circumstance, and hate their work if they have any. So really, really important that our children understand, that we understand, and that we talk about things like this, even with our prospects, that there's abundance everywhere. We've never lived in a greater time to be alive than 2022. There's never been more wealth. There's never been more billionaires. There's never been more millionaires. We're in a $1 trillion economy. There's opportunity and abundance everywhere if you know how to work and look for it. Money is the root of all good. Everything that I shared this morning, from rehabs to we support the military. We support clean water programs in the Canadian North. We sponsor T-ball. We sponsor hockey. We give our time. We give our money. None of that can happen. None of that can happen without money being the root of all good. And I just think it's important that we share. We're supposed to be we're supposed to be ashamed. You're supposed to, give, but don't say anything. And I'm like, well, that's a pretty piss poor example to give. I think businessmen have to be proud of the things that they support. I think it's important for small business owners like us to make it a big point that, hey, we're here and we're part of the community. We give to the food bank. We give to children's literacy. We give to the library. We give to the animal shelter. And I always made a big deal of those things because of that. I want it to be an example of giving back and serving others. This Thursday, I'm putting on a special training, which is tomorrow. There's a few lines left. How to create the ultimate lifestyle business. How to create the ultimate badass millionaire lifestyle business. You got to be on this training. This is a 90-minute money is the root of all good training. Are you kidding me? If your business If you're not generating at least $100,000 a month in profit, then I don't believe you have a business. If you don't have a business that is built on cash flow every single month you get paid, continuity, membership, whatever it is, then I don't believe you have a business. If you're not having fun, I don't believe you have a business. If you're not free, if you can't leave your business and have it run for a few days, if you're not scheduling vacations with your best friend's secret weapon, if you can't take care of your kid's college fund, if you're not free, then I don't believe you have a business. So tomorrow I'm going to help you get back to the vision you once had. I know why you got in business. You got in business for the same reason I did. You wanted to be your own boss. You wanted freedom. You wanted control. You wanted independence. You didn't want to work for the man. You wanted to have a nice house. You want to have nice cars. You want to have a nice boat. You want to have nice vacations. You want to have a summer home. You want to have time for your kids. All these things. Is that your life? And if the answer is no, if you're trapped in a self-made prison, if you're trapped in a Frankenstein, if you feel like you're a slave and you're in a Frankenstein business, then let me help untangle you tomorrow. There's no cost for the training. There's 200 lines. Everybody's invited. My YouTube followers, my email followers, my newsletters, my mastermind, you're all invited. But there's only 200 lines. The link is below, and it's also in the PS in this email. And yes, that is my mentality. Money is the root of all evil. And part of tomorrow's training is how for you to make more of it, how to get to that safe harbor position. The number one reason for you to be in business, and you maybe have forgotten this, is to make you independently wealthy. To make you independently wealthy. I bet you haven't been told that in a while. The only reason for you to risk it all, to spend so much time and energy and to put, to put all of this into it, the grind, the pressure, all the stuff that comes with it, the reward for you as the entrepreneur, the businessman, is for you to become independently wealthy. It's not to create jobs. It's not to give to charities. It's not to necessarily build things. Those are all things that happen as a positive spin-off of you creating value and wealth. But that's not the number one goal. That's all part of it. And the more successful you are financially, the more successful everybody else around you. That's the rising tide helps raise all boats. Really, really important. So tomorrow we'll get that thinking straight. You're not running a soup kitchen. You're not running a charity. You're running a fucking business. And your job is to make maximum profit in minimum time. And I'll show you how to do that. And, for you to work these insane death dealing hours, 70 hours, 80 hours, living in your phone, addicted to your phone, addicted to social media, addicted to the internet, like all that has to go. And I'll show you tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern how to get all of that, how to swift sword all of that out of your new world. I'll show you how to build a brand new badass lifestyle world tomorrow. So sign up below, how to create the ultimate badass millionaire lifestyle business. Business is to serve you. Your company is to create and support the business and lifestyle of your choosing, your world of your choosing. And if you have no money, no freedom, and no fun, let's get that fixed tomorrow. That's it. 2 words that changed my life. Remember to tell your wife and children how much they mean to you. Every day they need to hear that message, that you love them and you support them and that you got this. The king needs to say that message every day. And remember, keep telling them that the best is yet to come. Keep telling everybody in your world that the best is yet to come, and then make that happen. 2 words that changed my life, 2 words that'll change your life. Be relentless.